Welcome to Nana Peggy's Sewing. Today we are going to make a wet bag, and I must tell you that you will need to get water resistant fabric. And I am making a loop. You will need to make your loop, and you will have the pattern. And I just fold it in half, and then again, just take and fold it to the middle, and then you can just sew down the edge. And after we're through sewing just down the one edge, because it's so tiny, you cut it in half. And then you will need to measure up about an inch and a half from the bottom and make sure your loop is on back on the inside, uh, so you catch the edge on the outside of the fabric. And again, make sure you get water resistant fabric. This fabric was thicker and it wanted to ravel, so I used pinking shears to cut out the fabric and do my trimming with. Then you will need to measure down from the top 3 inches to leave an opening so you can have a place to put your cording through. And you can use pins or you can use clips, whichever you would like to use. Then we sew down, and I like using my new magnetic seam guide that I got off of Amazon. And again, make sure you do not sew all the way up. And then again, I use on my fabric, want to use the pinking shears. And then you will need to press open your seams. Then you will need to sew down each seam that we've left open at the top to make that look nice and neat when we fold our top piece down. Now you take your top and you bring it down to where the seam is open and sewed right there. And you measure so you can get each seam the same correct length. And for me, I just double check everything. And then once I get my seam, then you will need to go and just pin so you can turn it under, and that way we can have a really neat seam there for our cording. And I always like to sew across the bottom and the top so that my cording will not go just slide up to the top. So you will need to stitch down the bottom and again stitch across the top just a scant from the edge. Now you will turn your wet bag, and then you will need to measure 2 yards of your cording for each side. So that's a total of 4 yards. And you will need a safety pin to put your cording through your opening at the top, and you will go through both sides. Now, this water resistant fabric was really thick and a little difficult for me to even get it to move through there. But depending on your fabric, whether it will be easier or a little harder, but you can do this. Now we're ready to go with our wet bag.